Hi there, it's Veronica, and I am just jumping on because I had a few follow-up questions from my live Q&A yesterday about why do I drink? Why have things got so bad? I don't understand why I can't control it. I don't understand why my friend or my brother seems to be fine and I just keep ending up in the same situation over and over and over. So I'm jumping on to give you the answer to that. So why do we drink and what do we need to do to stop? And I actually wrote a book on that called Why You Drink and How to Stop. It's on Amazon if you want to check it out. So there's two big reasons that we develop an abusive relationship with alcohol. Now, that in itself is very interesting because people's relationship with alcohol can vary massively. Now, I will tell you that my relationship with alcohol was destructive from the first drink. As in, I always went too far. I mean, I was at 15 years old going into bars and blacking out and waking up in the gutter outside covered in vomit at 15. Now that is not by any stretch a normal or healthy relationship with alcohol. That's an abusive relationship with alcohol. But I couldn't see that at the time. I thought that was fun and I thought it was acceptable. So many people, some of the clients I work with will have a very appropriate relationship with alcohol. They'll drink maybe 2-3 times a week, maybe off occasion get a bit drunk, but really no big deal. But then it can be later in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s even, when something changes in their life and their relationship with alcohol progresses to one from being appropriate to abusive. So it really differs from person to person. But here's the big thing. Once we have got to a point where we've crossed that line, where our relationship with alcohol is unhealthy, it's abusive, it's very difficult, and I would say almost impossible to go back to that, because our brains remember how much alcohol we drink and how with that we want to feel from it. But the other thing is that's a really big factor is also age. We can't, I mean, a lot of you may have had this experience. How you drink at 18, 28, 38, 48, it's very, very different. And sometimes it's age that really kind of tips people's drinking. Like 5 years ago seemed all right, and now it's like really, really messy. So there's all those factors to consider. So here are the two reasons that that we develop destructive relationships with alcohol. So the first one is our culture. So our culture, and I'm talking about British, American, Australian, South African, it's kind of white Caucasian culture. I mean, that kind of Germany has this as well, and it's spread across all races and cultures. But it is this that I'm talking about, this binge drinking, abusive, reckless relationship with alcohol, and our culture is saturated in messages that adults drink. It's something that all adults do. That drinking is fun. That being hungover is really not a big deal, something to laugh about. And also a lot of the drinking stories, that there's the 3 movies called The Hangover. Those things are very positioned and framed in our culture to be like fun, acceptable, not a big deal, all of that kind of stuff. So we absorb all of that. A big part of this is the marketing and the way alcohol is marketed to us, branding, all of that kind of stuff. But a lot of it is just like our TV, our adverts, our, what we hear on the radio, all of that kind of stuff. I remember in the UK, in the 90s when I was doing most of my drinking, there's like some big radio stations, and the Radio 1, which is like the big young person's radio station, it was very common for the breakfast DJs when I was getting ready for work to be talking about like how hungover they were from the night before and laughing about it. And what that does is it normalizes that behavior. Because if, and here's the thing, we also have a very entrenched idea of what an alcohol problem is. Because we have been told this, actually, the alcohol industry says this, that most people drink and it's fine, and there's a small percentage that have a problem. And those people that have the problem are kind of in our minds as smelly old men on benches, homeless people, not people like us. You can't have a mortgage and a car and a job and have an alcohol problem. You simply can't. That's the message that we've been sold, and it's not true. Why is it not true? Actually, it's the bit in the middle. There are, quite a large number of people have a very serious problem with alcohol, but there's actually a much bigger group of people that have a really unhealthy and abusive relationship with alcohol, but can't see it and really have no idea. So, that's the culture we live in, and we can't underestimate like how much of an influence that is. And that's really, so you may have heard me talk about this a lot. It's one of my favorite subjects. The biggest reason is because of all this, we have this perception about what alcohol brings us, because alcohol makes a promise to us. And what we believe that promise is that it's going to take us to this land, the land of fun, excitement, belonging, connection, relaxing, romance and sex. Who does not want to be in that land, right? I want to be in that land. That land sounds amazing. And when I started drinking, I was 100% signed up because I believed that's where it was going to take me. And the thing is, it did. At the beginning, it did take me there. I mean, I was going out and drinking in bars at 15 years old. I felt older, sophisticated. It was fun. It was exciting. I did meet guys. I did feel part of, and I belonged to something. It really, really worked for me in the beginning for a short amount of time. And then it stopped working. And the opposite of those things started happening. But because my belief was so strong, I didn't see that. So every time I drank, I thought, this time I'm going to get back how it was at the beginning, even though the time away from that was getting further and further and further. And I could say every so often it would be fun. Every so often I'd feel like I belonged, that kind of stuff. But those times were fewer and far between, the times that were just lousy. Now, here's the other thing that we don't see. We don't see the cost. That's not communicated to us at all. And it's one of my big messages. We don't see the cost. Now, what I'm talking about there's the price, there's the money we spend. And one of the things about that is it can be way more than we think we're spending, because we think it's just like the money we spend on alcohol, but it's not. It's all of the add-on costs. It's like cab fares, take out food, lost possessions, day off work, missed opportunity. When I look back at my drinking years, and I know I missed so many opportunities for many, many reasons. Being hungover definitely was one of them, but the other one was just, how alcohol affected my self-esteem and self-worth, that I couldn't see stuff that was an opportunity, because that stuff was too frightening. Alcohol kept my world quite small. So we don't see the cost. So again, maybe every 10 times you drink, 3 of them is really fun, 7 are a bit crap. When we really, really look at the cost, which we don't, what we feel that we're getting from alcohol, the cost is huge. It's too high, but we just can't see it. Now, that's the culture that we live in. We have been sold this, marketed, that we can get to this land with alcohol. So the other thing is, many of us were not brought up in families or in cultures that really taught and enable us to deal with our feelings and emotions in a healthy way. Now, how you feel is everything. All human behavior is a manifestation of how we feel. You can look around at anyone you know, and you will be able to tell how they are feeling, how they're doing. You don't have to be a psychotherapist like me, by how they behave. People's behavior will tell you what's going on with them. And if you look around, you'll see that to be true. So I feel that this is something culturally we're only just beginning to grasp this is a lot of Brené Brown's work. We've sort of been brought up in this culture of like man up, stiff upper lip, self-reliant, go get it. And having any kind of feeling is not acceptable. It's definitely not acceptable if you're a man. But generally, feelings of vulnerability and fear and all of that kind of stuff. Like, how did you learn how to do that stuff? How did you learn to deal with frustration? How did you learn how to deal with your anger? How did you learn how to deal with disappointment? How did you learn how to deal with fear? Did anyone sit down and coach you and help you? Nobody did that to me. But in my family, what was communicated implicitly was, your feelings are not okay. Shut them down. Shut them down. So as a child, I was like, okay. And as a teenager, that stuff was exploding in me. And drink relieved how uncomfortable that was. So again, alcohol is prevalent in our culture everywhere. It's very accessible. And it does work as an anesthetic, as a mood and mind enhancer and changer. So you have someone who has some difficult and uncomfortable feelings that they have no clue how to deal with. And you introduce them to a substance that just numbs that all away for a couple of hours. Wow. There you go. That's why alcohol becomes so attractive, because it works instantly, it's cheap, it's easy, and all these difficult and uncomfortable feelings and emotions that I've had since a child and into adolescence, and they've been building in me as an adult, my brain can go, have a drink after work, have a drink when you get home, have a drink when you wake up, have a drink with lunch, and you don't have to think or feel that stuff. And that's how that habit forms, because our mind is always looking for ways to change, because we want to feel good, and your mind's going, how can I feel good, and how can I do that as quickly as possible? So those are the two big reasons why you drink the way you do. I'm going to say as well, and I write this is actually in my book, that I think fear is one of the biggest engines of why we drink abusively. And I think fear is a subject that very rarely gets discussed. I mean, like, maybe I can tell you I'm frightened of spiders, but I could certainly never tell anyone I was frightened that I was never going to be loved, or I was really frightened that I just wasn't good enough. Like, how do you put that into words? Where do you take that stuff? But that stuff was deep, deep inside of me. And that stuff was the engine. Those fears were the engine behind my abusive drinking, because drinking was a freaking escape from that. So all of that stuff is going on. So when we get to the point when we are thinking about stopping drinking, there's usually a period of time, because we've crossed the line from what can be a healthy or appropriate relationship with alcohol. Someone like me, I crossed the line on my first drink, but we can't see that. And the reason we can't see that, the biggest reason, is because we are scared of losing our best friend, our crutch, our anesthetic, and we are scared that we're not going to get to the land of fun, excitement, belonging, connection, all that kind of stuff. So I have a little kind of test that I give people when they come to me and like, oh, I think I have a drink problem, I'm not sure, I want to try and be a social drinker again, etc., etc., etc. So I kind of give them two things. First thing is, if you're in front of me, like you are right now, I'm going to say it's a given. Because the fact that you are listening to this or sort out some of my stuff, you have a drink problem. Because people who don't have a drink problem simply don't think about it. My husband drinks like maybe 2 or 3 drinks a month, maybe. He's not Googling whether he has a drink problem or not, because he just doesn't even think about it, because there's no consequences, no problem. So how can we tell whether we have an alcohol problem? So I do the sandwich test. The sandwich test is this is how normal people think about alcohol, the same way that I think about sandwiches. So, about this time, lunchtime, I'll think, I'm a bit hungry, fancy a sandwich, that'd be nice, have a sandwich. Tomorrow, about this time, I think, a bit hungry, fancy a salad, I'll have a salad. Friday, bit hungry, this time, I think, fancy some soup. I might be at a party at the weekend and there might be a plate of sandwiches go by and I might think, I'll have a couple of those are nice. And it will go around again. I'll go, no, I'm good, thanks. That's literally as much space as I think about sandwiches. That's as much space as it rents in my head. Now, if you are thinking of alcohol more than you think of sandwiches, that is a red flag that you may have a problem. So this is very simply the test. People with a drink problem do 3 things. They drink, they think about drinking, and they think about not drinking. Now, this is really, really important. It's about our bandwidth. Our bandwidth is like how much stuff we can manage and think about in our daily lives, We've all had that kind of, I just can't think about that right now because I'm just too busy, too full of thinking other things. So when we spend a lot of our bandwidth, a lot of our emotional energy, a lot of the space in our brains thinking about, am I going to drink this weekend? Am I not going to drink? What time am I going to start drinking? What am I going to drink? Will these people notice if I'm drinking? What if they do notice if I'm drinking? What will they be thinking about my drinking? Maybe I won't drink at all. I just won't go out this weekend. Maybe I'll have something good at home. I could get some wine at home. Or maybe you're thinking, oh God, the next day I'm so hungover, so much to do, I'm so hungover, I feel awful, there's so much to do, my kids need me, I have to do this, all these things I can't do, I'm just going to learn, so if I feel like I'm going to throw up, it's awful, maybe I shouldn't drink, I don't want to drink, I'm going to stop, right, that's it, stopping Monday, no more drinking, done. But what about that wedding coming up, and what about the weekend, and then there's Christmas, and I don't know, do you see how much time and space that's taking up? It's crazy to rent that much space thinking about alcohol. So when we are renting that kind of space to alcohol, guys, that's when we have a problem. And that's when we need to do something about it. Now, a lot of us can get to that point and go, yeah, that's me, but oh my God. Because what you're hearing me say is, you're telling me I'm going to have to give up membership to the land, though. You are telling me that. I know you are. I get it. Yeah, I do think about it too much. Yeah, I've got too many hangovers. Yeah, it affects my kids. Yeah, I don't want to feel like that. But you're telling me I'm going to have to give up membership to the land, and so I'm going to be boring and dull and grey for the rest of my life. And there's also that underlying fear of, but how am I going to cope without it? Because when you've got to that point, alcohol is your best friend. It's your best friend, right? And I'm asking you to give up your best friend, even though your best friend is toxic and abusive. We get very, very frightened of how am I going to be if I don't have that? We get to this place, and we know it, it's not hard to avoid. We feel, instead of feeling like we belong, we feel apart from. We don't feel connected. We don't feel like we fit in. We feel lonely because of that. We can be with groups of people, but we still feel lonely because we're not getting the connection that we're yearning for. We feel lost. We're just sort of, you get stuck in that cycle, of, I'm not going to drink, and you don't drink for a while, and then you break because you're just doing it on willpower and you can't stop drinking on willpower. And then you drink this time thinking it'll be different, even though nothing's changed. And you drink and it's not different, and it's the next day you feel that awful remorse and, physically being hungover, you feel so ashamed of yourself, you feel all of those things, and it's just a cycle that goes round and round and round, and that's why trying to do it on your own with willpower just doesn't work. And that awful feeling that everything is just out of reach, I'll tell you what was really killing me when I was drinking was just this feeling of knowing. I had a deep sense of knowing that this wasn't who I was. How I behaved, what I did, the things I said to people, that wasn't who I was. And I knew it. And it killed me so deep down. And I know that's probably doing that to you as well. When you say and do things and behave in ways that's not who you are, because that's not why you're here. We're here to be the best version of ourselves, but we just get so stuck. So it just feels so out of reach. And it just feels that, something that we can't achieve. So we get to a point where we've had enough, but we just don't know how to stop. And I see this all the time in my group. Guys, okay, I'm going to lay it out clear. Your best thinking got you here. You sort of in charge of all of this, trying to figure it out, has got you to this place. You've got to get some help to get out of it. It's like I'm the most directionally challenged person you've ever met. And I can go somewhere and try and figure out where I'm going, but I have to admit defeat at a certain point and either ask directions or use my GPS, because I just can't do that on my own. So we also get very scared to stop for all of the reasons I said, that we're going to be giving up our best friend and be giving up the entrance to our land. And that kind of paralyzes us. And we can stay in this state of sort of paralysis, of not moving forward, drinking, and just kind of staying in this hamster wheel, kind of really stuck. I think there's also a fear of, there's a very deep fear of who am I going to be without alcohol? Who am I without this? What will my life be like? Again, because of the belief about the entrance to the land, I'm never going to have fun again, even though quite clearly you haven't been having fun. Or even the little bit of fun that you have been having has come with such an enormous price that it's not really worth it. But we just get so stuck in that. And then we don't move. We just kind of just stay where we are. And all the time, the days of our life are going by. When what we really want, what we're looking for, and it's kind of partly what alcohol promised us but didn't deliver on. What we're looking for is we want to be connected. We want all of us. Brené Brown talks about this. All of us want to be seen and to be known. Not by necessarily everybody, but at least one or two people where we just feel deeply, deeply known. Imagine what it would feel like to feel comfortable in your own skin. That was my default position, just being really, I couldn't bear being me. I just wanted to crawl out of my own body. I couldn't even imagine what it would be like to actually like and love myself and be really comfortable in my own skin. For me, the biggest thing that I wanted was to not be frightened. I just wanted to live without this terror on my back every day of dealing with people, making choices, working, dealing with life. Everything was very frightening for me. And I just wanted to live without that fear, without that knot in my stomach. I wanted to just have I just wanted to have some calmness. We want to be able to deal with our life, right? We want to be able to deal with people. We want to be able to deal with situations without this kind of fear and drama and roller coaster in our head. We want to just be able to do that kind of easily without thinking, right? We want to be able to take the opportunities that come our way. We want to be able to say yes. We want to be able to see our life expand. We want to fulfill our potential. We want to fulfill our potential. We just want that kind of ease and comfort that we do see in some people, where today I wake up, it's Wednesday, and it doesn't really matter what day of the week it is or what it's like. My default position used to be discontentment and fear. My default position today, and it's not happiness, it's emotional balance. Because nobody's happy 100% all the time. But I'm very emotionally balanced. Now, I can find joy and happiness in so much now. But also when the difficult feelings come, like sadness, frustration, anger, I can have appropriate emotional responses. Now, that is one of the biggest gifts of sobriety, is if something happens and I have an appropriate emotional response. Before, I would not have appropriate emotional responses. I would go off the deep end. I was a big drama queen. I would make mountains over molehills. Now, if something disappointing happens, I'm disappointed and I can process and deal with those feelings. If something frightening happens, I can feel the fear. I can tell myself feelings that are not facts, and I can process and deal with it. That is the biggest skill that I learned in sobriety. And you can't learn that while you're drinking. The reason you can't learn that while you're drinking is we don't grow when we're drinking. And I'm not talking about people who are drinking 24/7 and are drunk all the time. I'm talking about people who are just have an abusive relationship but don't even necessarily drink every day. And the reason we can't grow is because of the bandwidth thing. When you are consuming a lot of emotional energy, thinking about drinking, not drinking, when you're going to drink, all that kind of stuff, you don't have the energy for the growth, the emotional and spiritual growth that every human being has to do. So when we are sober, we can grow. So we get to the point where there's two choices. We can either carry on as we are, and you can do that for as long as you want. You can also stop drinking. You can go back to it whenever you want, or you can try another way. Now, this is probably my life's message. The land of fun, excitement, connection, belonging, relaxing, romance, and sex. You can get there. And you can get there sober. And this is the secret. It's better. It's better. Now, to get there, there's a bridge. And you have to go across the bridge. And the bridge is a bit weird. It's going to feel a bit weird at first. It's going to feel a bit strange. Other people won't understand while you're on the bridge. And sometimes you won't be able to see quite where you're going. But I promise you, if you continue to cross the bridge, you will get to that land. Once you've got to that land and you have seen it, here's the other thing. I will warn you, it will seriously mess up your drinking. Because when you have seen what is possible, it's really going to mess up drinking again. But when you get to that land and you see what is possible and you make the decision to stay there, then very quickly you will see that all of that stuff, fun, excitement, connection, belonging, etc., is off the charts better than sobriety. I'll tell you that because I got sober at 27. I'm 46 now. I've had 19 years of sobriety. If this land wasn't full of fun, excitement, connection, belonging, relaxing, romance, and sex, I'd have been drunk 18 and a half years ago. I can promise you. So the thing that stops us is fear. We also, I think, what stops us is not so much fear of failure, but fear of success. Because what if this works for you? Who are you going to be? Who are you going to be? What's going to happen in your life? Like, even though it was a bit crappy before, it was familiar crap. You knew how to do it. By being sober, it's going into the unknown. And it feels like that because, again, we are surrounded by this cultural reinforcement that people drink and everybody drinks, everyone drinks, everyone drinks. To be a person who doesn't do that, it feels really scary. And that's sometimes the reason, the things that stop us. So I want you to know, this is the most important message, is there's nothing special or different about me. I know you can sit there and think, oh yeah, well, she's different or she's so lucky. I want to tell you, when I stopped drinking at 27 years old, I had no one. I went and got help and I did it through a 12-step program and got some other helps, got some therapy as well. But I didn't have any friends or family. I had to self-motivate to do everything. And it was 2 steps forward and 1 step back, but I kept going until I got to the land and went, I want more of this. And I just kept going and kept going and kept going. I didn't do everything right. I made lots of mistakes. If you've been following my series of 19 lessons in 19 years, you'll see I made a lot of mistakes. But I kept going no matter what. And that's the difference between people who make it and people who don't. It's not that some people get it and some people don't get it. It's that some people do it and some people don't do it. And the doing is the most important thing. So that's why I want to tell you really quickly about the Sober Kickstart that is live this Saturday. Now, if you can't show up for it live, it's fine. You can get the recording of the workshop and it's yours to keep forever. The Sober Kickstart is about getting you started. It's about getting that first step on the bridge. It's about laying a foundation for all of this stuff. It's about, it clears the path. And it will give you that this is the way over the bridge. These are the tools that you need. These are the things you need to do. This is how you support yourself. It's all of that. Once you know the direction, it makes it so much easier. So the Sober Kickstart Plus, what you get when you purchase, and I just want to say the price, Chip and I made it super affordable. If you're me, it's the equivalent of one night's drinking. If you're not, don't drink quite the way I do, it's probably 2 nights drinking. So by starting the Sober Kickstart, you're going to save money this month. If you add up how much we spend on alcohol. So, what you get is a seat at the live workshop on Saturday. If you can't turn up live, you'll get the recording afterwards. You get access to the Sober Kickstart 30-day online program, which is an online self-study program to get to the first 30 days of not drinking. You also get 30 days membership to the Sober for Life program. The Sober for Life program is an ongoing month-to-month program with lots of resources and tools for people who want to just keep going across the bridge into the land. It's all the stuff you need. We have online recovery groups. We have workshops. We just had one yesterday with a therapist who was teaching us the difference between being introverted and extroverted. Because if you go back to the stuff that I was teaching about, the reason we actually drink destructively is because of our feelings and emotions. When you stop drinking, that stuff doesn't go away. It's all there. So we have to learn about ourselves. We have to learn how to deal with life and feelings and all of that kind of stuff. So you get 30 days membership there to see what all of that's about. Now, this program is for people who want to stop drinking, who have just stopped drinking, or have stopped for a little while but are really, really stuck and just not feeling it. Don't want to drink but are not anywhere near the land. Then this program's for you. The link is in my bio on Instagram, or it's in the description here. Places are limited and it's filling up fast. This is my invitation for you. Stay as you are and get what you're getting, or take the first step with Chip and I, and we will equip you to get to over the bridge and get to the land of fun, excitement, belonging, connection, relaxing, romance, and sex. Sober. Thanks for listening, guys. Any question, pop it in the comments.